So clarity isn't just operational, it's personal. Confusion is the enemy of trust. You don't fly a knife edge pass without clarity. Clarity isn't a luxury, it's a responsibility. If you can't say it quickly and clearly, you're not ready to ask. Clarity matters. What do I mean by that? Hey, communication is critical, both in aviation, in the Blue Angels, and in your work. All right, so we had a saying between the two solo pilots. Are you ready to take a mark? That was a question I would ask Thumper, my opposing solo, before we would start a maneuver where we came at each other at 1,000 miles per hour closure and cross within a wingspan. So why is this important in what you do? Okay, so number one, we're airborne, just like you. You got a lot going on, a lot of distractions, a lot of business things going on, boom. How do you get focused down and how do you have clear, concise communication in order to execute at a high level? So when we were doing the knife edge pass or any opposing maneuver, we actually started 6 miles apart. We're coordinating, just like in business. There's lots of different maneuvers. There's actually 30 in a Blue Angel air show. And all of these have to come together to have what? The experience of a lifetime. So this is just one of those 30 maneuvers. Now inside each one of these maneuvers, you got to have multiple checkpoints. All right, just think about any project launch, right? There's multiple checkpoints on that. So how does it work? Well, first off, we've practiced this, but now it's game time. I'm 3 miles crowd left. I'm the lead solo. All right. Thumpers, 3 miles crowd right. That's 6 miles apart. Okay. Opposing solo. We're actually in a little bit of an orbit because we are timing when we're going to start this maneuver in order to create the timing for the whole air show. The boss, the 4 diamond pilots, they're flying around, they're doing the maneuvers. The solos can make stuff happen, right? So I come up on the radio and I just ask a simple question of my teammate. I say, are you ready to take a mark? Now this is deep, okay? What it means is, are you in position? But more importantly, are you committed? Is there anything that's holding you back? Let me know, because if you say ready to take a mark, the next thing that's going to happen in a split second, I'm going to say mark it, and bam, we're starting, okay? And we're committed. So that was the chance to check in with somebody, and if they had a problem, then they needed to let us know. You need to let your teammates know. This isn't about hiding information. This is about sharing information. Even if you're the problem, if you're late, that's okay. Just say, look, I'm working a little late. I'll fix it. Boom. Okay. So bottom line is, are you ready to take a mark? Thumper 99% of the time said ready to take a mark. Now we also had processes if he or she wasn't. Okay, then you would have, I'd actually give them 5 seconds and I'd say it again because my team can adjust quickly, right? So here's the key. Ready to take a mark. Stand by, mark it. Boom, boom, boom. We then hit our stopwatches. We actually had stopwatches mounted on the glare shield of the F-18. Yes, there's all high-speed technology and whatnot, but we got this down there where we could coordinate each other. It's about coordination and alignment, right? So the next thing that would happen is both of us would dive down, and it's a massive dive. You point your nose down. Sometimes it's full afterburner. Sometimes it's idle. Do whatever it takes to be where? To be on your 3 mile checkpoint in 20 seconds, on altitude, on airspeed, on time. Those are your 3 metrics, okay? I need you to hit all of those, okay? And if you're off, you just need to tell me, right? So bottom line is we did a quick 10 seconds mark. That was just to give a quick check so that we're both in sync, all right? No communication needed back, all right? Then here's what's really cool. If Thumper was on his or her 3 mile checkpoint, on altitude, on airspeed, on time, guess what he told me? Nothing. You want to have crystal clear, concise communication. If you're where you're supposed to be, I don't need to hear from you. But if you're off, I need to know quickly. Why? So we can make some adjustments. We're in a constant state of adjusting. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have standard, let's say, monthly reports or weekly reports. Those are different kind of check-ins. I'm talking about this is a tactical execution. You want to save time? Put this into place. Okay, so three miles. If I don't hear anything, boom, I know he or she is right exactly where it's supposed to be. But what I'm really looking for is any deviation. So if Thumper was just a second off, he says, I'm working late. Okay, that's just 1 second off. If he was a half second off, I'm working a little late. And if he's more than 1 second, he's got to tell me. I'm off 2 seconds. Rarely happens in our business, okay? But the point is crystal clear clarity. All right. Now, who do you think corrects in that situation? I do, the leader. Why? Because I got more experience, okay? If Thumper could do it, he would have been there in the first place, all right? So here's where leadership comes in, all right? Here's where you need to know who adjusts and when. So if Thumper was off, means he had a problem, that's why he's off, okay? Then I want him to be consistent. Consistency matters. Hold 400 knots ground speed. So think about that, that's our metric. So what is your metric, okay? You got to hold the line, okay? Why? So someone else can make an adjustment. If you have two people making adjustments, you're never going to get it coordinated. We're going to get to where we need to be. We're going to cross the center point so the client, it happens exactly as they expect it, but we're making the adjustments out here, right? So if Thumper was early, guess what? I speed up as the lead solo. If Thumper's late, guess what? I slow down. This is where leadership has to take the accountability and say, I'm part of this too. It's not just your job to fix it. I'll help you, okay? And then we have a 2-mile check-in, see how we're doing. And then we can get precise. Is there a tailwind or headwind? I may take a 10-knot increment for 7 seconds and pull it back. I mean, there's lots of different things you can put into your business as you get to your metrics, okay? The point is our clarity of communication. So 2 miles, mark, all right? Then 1 mile. Now, here's what's really important. At the 1 mile checkpoint, by the way, just in San Francisco, where, remember, you're 2 miles apart, right? And what does an F-18 looks like 2 miles out? It's a little dot. And this dot's getting bigger at the rate of a mile every 4.5 seconds. So you better have some sharp concentration, focus, know what to block out, what to focus on. All right. And then if you don't have each other in sight at 1 mile, we had a safety put in the process which says leave. Okay, the opposing solo. If you don't see me, get out of there, right? Because I don't want you making radical corrections in close. All right. So now we come up, and now as you're watching each other, here's a talk about another clear communication. All right. When we're going to do the maneuver, and it's going to be a ready, hit it, boom. So that's the communication. Ready, hit it, boom. We move our stick, full stick deflection. You don't move your jet. I don't care what's going on in your mind until I say ready, hit it. And then it's a full stick deflection. Noses go through each other. You get thumped from the airflow going over the canopy. Meanwhile, you got to recage your brain. Why? Because I got 29 other maneuvers to do in the next 30 minutes. All right, so just one story. I got tons of them. Stay on this channel. We got tons more. But the bottom line is clarity matters. So here's my question to you. What is the communication you have with your team? When do you need to have a very crisp and clear communication strategy? And when do you need to have a discussion? We have discussion times too. After the maneuver and we do the clear, then I've got about 30 seconds and I come up on the radio. First thing I do is I ask my spotter on the ground, usually my flight surgeon. I say, what did you see? Why? Because I think I know what I see, but I don't know it from the client's perspective. I want to know it from the client's perspective, from the customer perspective. So we actually put somebody there and we ask them to watch it. And don't tell me what went wrong or what went right. Just tell me, what did you see? And very clear. Okay, if 2 jets go right through their noses, nose to nose, that's what we call a nice hit. So if my flight surgeon comes up or maintenance officer comes up and says, center point, nice hit, that's what I want to hear. That means the cross came right over center point. We have a defined reference point, nice hit, the noses went through. That's perfect. That's what I'm looking for. Now, what do I want? I want adjustments. So we have center point, little high. Okay, that means the nose actually went through the airplane, but it wasn't a perfect hit, okay? And then if the nose missed the airplane, then that's high. Okay, and so I'm getting immediate feedback. How about distance? 1 left. So if they come up and say you're 1 left, a little high, that means that the hit is 100 feet left and a little bit high. Now remember, we're doing a mile every 4.5 seconds. So 1 second off, you miss by 2 football fields. So we're talking very nuanced here, right? But that's the communication. That's the idea of clarity, and it overcomes challenges, right? Now to do this, you better have some of these 5 dynamics we talked about. You got to have respect for each individual. You got to lay it on the table. You got to have open and honest communication, no withholds, okay? This isn't about hiding it, all right? What would number 6 do? First off, no one's going to know. So if Thumper was off and he didn't say anything and says, oh, I'll just make the correction myself, we're not going to get this precise, repeatable, scalable execution. It may work once, but it's not scalable. So we got to be open and honest and accountable, and then have our process and our systems come together in order to make it an incredible experience. And I got to tell you, when you're in the cockpit and they go by like that, so close, boom, you just feel it, right? That's the feeling of when things are going well. And it starts with communication and clarity. Yeah, so how do you get to this center point nice hit, right? Well, again, that terminology means we're aligned. Center point means this is the timing, and the nice hit, and by the way, we don't actually hit, but we make it look like we do. That's what gives it the wow factor, right? So we actually know what that looks like. I think that's the first and most important thing in your business and your life. Do you know what success looks like? Do you know what extreme success looks like? So I have a visual picture of what that looks like, and I'm shooting for it. Now, rarely do I hit it. I gotta be honest with you. I mean, if I get a center point nice hit once out of 30 maneuvers, we're doing pretty good, okay? So the idea here is it's okay to be off. It's okay to make corrections. Now, what we do is we practice this in training, and we practice it every day. So it's not like, oh, I'm hoping for this one thing. Think about, a presentation to a client, a real important presentation. Well, we know what success looks like. That's important. Do you know? What does it look like to the client, not just you, right? So once you've identified that, then what do you say? It's the high performance zone. Where are we? And you check your metrics, and I guarantee you're not there yet, all right? And so where's the gap, right? And once you've identified those gaps, now you can take the corrective action that's needed in order to close those gaps. So we do that in training. We would fly by. Again, it's nice to have an independent observer, not just yourself, because I may have an idea, and we go to the debrief and we talk about it. I'll say what I thought I saw. Number 6, or Thumper will say what he or she thought they saw. And then I want the third component. I want the customer. I want to know, what did you see, right? And that's the more important one. And sometimes we're aligned, but most of the time you gain information by just asking the question, all right? And it could be a very slight nuance, and that's what I'm looking for. Because if I can fix that, then I can repeat it. So again, we do have ways to do the maneuver. We practice it. We get closer and lower to the ground as the year goes along. Same thing with your teammates. As you get to know them, like a new team member comes in, boy, you can't operate at this level. They need to know. And you remember the old forming, storming, norming, performing model. I remember that at Stanford Business School, okay? So if you're forming, you got a new team member, you're gonna have to step back. And we do this on the Blue Angels, right? We step back and we say, okay, got new people coming in. Here's what we're trying to do. And we bring them up slowly. We mentor, we train them. Now you're norming, okay? But you're not performing yet. Now everybody understands. Here's our processes. Here's our systems. More importantly, here's how we debrief. This is what's important to us. Here's the corrections. Then you start to perform, all right? And I think that's the key. And by the way, the storming piece will happen. I don't care who you are. You're going to have differences of opinions, and we want that. Okay, I want somebody to be humility. Okay, that's key, because we want to learn, grow, give. We all want to learn. All right, but I'm okay with a difference of opinion. In fact, I want that. Now, once we talk it through and we come together as an organization, we understand the market, we understand what's going on. Here's how we're going to approach it. Then we're one voice to the customer. That's an important message right there. One voice is another communication. How do you come to the customer? Think like a pro. That means that you're at the top of your game, no matter what pro that is, okay? You could be a pro in sports, it could be a pro in flying, it could be a pro in business. How about being a pro in life, man? That's even more important, right? All right, so you want to think like a pro. So what does that mean? Well, first off, what are the best doing? Okay, to me, that's the pros, all right? And based on what metric? Okay, and that's important too. Is success defined just by, let's say, your influence or the amount of money you're making? Probably not. If it is, man, you're going to always be chasing that. How about happiness in life? How about this glad to be here, man? Are you fulfilled? Are you making a difference in someone else's life, right? So you got to first off decide that. A pro knows what success looks like, all right? And then a pro knows how to get there. And just because you're able to yourself put those steps into place, that's not enough. A real pro and the mastery comes when you can teach someone else. Like we're doing right here. We're sharing this information so that someone else can apply it. That's harder, by the way. It's harder to say, to take an analogy. I do this all the time in all my keynotes, right? So I, get a lot of sports figures up there, and they have a real challenge because making those analogies to business, some of them are kind of clear, some are really hard. Okay. In the blues, as you know, we dissect this. This is a team approach. This is process, systems, mindset. So a lot of these things come in, and then you get to that pro level. So 3 levels of mastery. You may have heard me say these before. First is, Belichick and I talk about do your job. Actually, I stole it from Belichick. He said it was cool. We're friends, right? Second one is become world class. So that's what probably most of you are thinking what a pro does. Yeah, you're world class. And that's not because you say it, it's because the market says it. Your customers say it, okay? That's not enough. The third one's the more important one, and that is teach someone else. And that's the hardest piece. And rarely does someone good at all 3 of those, okay? What are some of the best coaches in the sports world? A lot of them are not great players. In fact, you rarely find a world-class player who's also a world-class coach. Very few of them, okay? Because it's a different skill set. It's one thing to get yourself to that level of mastery. It's a whole nother thing to teach someone else. So who are usually the best? The ones that were good, but they weren't great in their sport, right? Probably because they didn't just have the physical skills, all right? At certain levels, whether it's the Olympics or football and that kind of stuff, you got to have physical skill will make a difference. You know who I really respect? The ones who don't have the world-class physical skill, but have the mindset. They understand, they see the field. Think about, Brady. Tom Brady's a great example of this, right? He wasn't the most gifted quarterback, even though he had great gifts, right? But his mindset allowed him to see things others didn't see and take appropriate action, all right? That, by the way, is my definition of experience. Can you see things others don't see and take the appropriate action? Damn, that's a pro. That's world class. Yeah, so the next step for all of us after you've listened to this is actually take action, try it, okay? So it's part of my learn, grow, give mentality, right? So this is learning, all right? Maybe hopefully you picked up some new information, but you haven't applied it yet. You can't grow until you apply it. Try it, okay? Try it simple. Keep it simple, right? And then just realize that the more you apply it, the better you get. Once you've mastered the application, that's when you start to teach it.